Hello, everyone. Good to see you all. We've got more people joining by the second. That's very good. You can see that in the Q&A, I have put a small message, and there is a link in this. And this is the strategic game platform, which we will be using throughout the session and in the next two sessions as well with Michelle. So click on there, and then you put in the email that you used to register. It has to be the same email, and then you will get a link to that email. And then you click on the link in the email, which can take a minute or two, but just be patient, and then you can access the game that way.
Het is 16 uur. I think for the students, it's important indeed to think about that your email registration that you signed up for with the course, that's also your password to the game. So if you cannot access it, that might be the issue. Another one might be, unfortunately, that we are with so many people that the platform might not be able to handle it. But at this point, with the numbers subscribed so far, there should not be an issue. But I guess, Alexander, that we are more or less ready to start.
Yes.
I see a lot of tiles still, and not so much me and you as the only one spotlighted, but I'm not sure that is that correct? Or
yes. So we are the only ones spotlighted. And then I will share the screen. But just as a bit of an introduction, I guess, to you, Michelle, sure. And for the students, it will be the first time seeing you, or the second time after the inaugural. Michel Rademacher is one of the co-founders of the Hague Center for Strategic Studies and is the deputy director. He's lots of fields of expertise, including security strategy, policy, concepts, and doctrines, alongside many, many others. So just with this very, very short introduction, I will share my screen and then we can get going. So I hope that you can see my screen now.
What I see, I can see the titles, subtitles, the live titles, and that means that my screen is in half, more or less. I'm not sure how I can close that.
No,
just to be sure. Well, anyway, maybe that's something that can be fixed. I'm not sure that's on my side. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's kick off. Welcome to this lecture on the cyber resilience game, which is part of the school. During the course, we will meet each other 3 times. The game is I think an interesting one because we are not so much lecturing you on the topic, but you also be able in your own time and on speed learn a lot while playing this game. So what I will do, is I'll explain in the concept of the game, and if the game platform runs well, then also we can demo a little bit here and there, so that you get a bit of a more look and feel how the game is built up, what's the reasoning behind it, etc. So maybe as a start, Alexander, the next sheet, please. Yeah, so what was interesting, actually, we started the game developing it as a tabletop exercise, so a board card game. That was fine, but we couldn't play, so let's say with two times 5 or 10 people, 15 max. But now we transformed it also to in a digital version, and now it can be played with many people at the same time, and also asynchronic. It means that you can play this game in the over the course of this lecture series, whenever you want to play it, for 5 minutes or 5 hours, doesn't matter. It will be available in that period. Next sheet, please. Yes, so it's what I would call a serious board game. It's not a win or lose game, but it is basically what I would call gamified analysis. So it's in a playful manner that you have to think about a situation. And these kind of games, because we use them not only for cyber, but also for countering hybrid threats or for climate and security and other issues or topics, is that it enables and enhances strategic conversations on the needs and ambitions, for example, and or on current and new capabilities. I come back to that one. What is a capability actually? And on potential also for the conditions for having certain capabilities, to prioritize them, and also I think to learn lessons, and to do also some knowledge transfer. So for today, we also use the game partly on one hand on strategic thinking and knowledge transfer, because it's you gonna play and you'll learn a lot, that's for sure. Next sheet, please. So yeah, on what levels can you play this? So today we're gonna play it on national level. So we talk about the India cyber resilience situation. So the question for today is, how can you guys think about the way to make cyber a priority and make India resilient for cyber attacks and malicious use, etc. But you can also play it on multinational level. So for example, we did play this multiple times with, for example, the Joint Expeditionary Force, which is a military organization of 10 countries around the North Sea. But also you can also play it on organizational level. And I'll explain later how that plays out and what it means if you start playing it at an organizational or national level. Next, please. Okay, so what's important is that when starting to play the situation or the scenario, basically, and the scenario is here, how to make India more cyber resilient, that's a challenge. Then you first, of course, have to think about, what is the situation? Do I understand the cyber situation of India? And then there's a couple of questions actually. On the left-hand side is, okay, what is the main hostile actor? Can we address what the main threats are to Indian cyber resilience? Could be criminal, could be state-sponsored attacks, it could be other things. It could be a specific country or a group of countries. But it's very important to think about that. So what is the main objective? What was the main actor? And well, the difficulty to some extent for thinking about the resilience of India with regard to cyber, then there might be many different potential hostile actors. I mentioned already a couple: criminals, states, etc. And as you know, or you will learn more during this lecture series of this course, is that it's often the case that intermediates or allies of the main hostile actor are the ones that basically do cyber attacks, for example. Yeah, called sometimes cyber mercenaries. And you'll have a lecture from Charlotte Lindsay, who does a lecture on cyber mercenaries, for example. And you'll get a lecture also by Chris Painter, the former cyber czar of the White House, about ransomware. So, and where's ransomware used for? No, most of the cases for criminals. But so it's important to also think about, okay, what are the allies and or intermediates of the main hostile actors? Multiple, potentially. So that you basically dissect the different kind of the threat actors that you might have to battle against, let's say that. And then, of course, that's question number 2 on the left-hand side. Situation is the why. So why does a actor do what he's doing? For criminals, it's sometimes obvious. It might be for money. A state could be different. We know from North Korea that they do it for multiple reasons, but one of them is also to get cash, dollars or other currencies that they can trade and buy stuff in the rest of the world. And for that, they could, for example, use ransomware and other things. But it could also be criminals just looking for a quick win. So the reason to ask why is the actor doing this is because if you understand intent, then you might be better capable of thinking about countermeasures. So this is a first part of the game. So in the game itself, you'll be able to fill this in for yourself, but you'll see later. The other part is, okay, now we have the situation. And especially if you think about the situation in a group, then it's very important to understand that you're on the same sheet of music, so to say. Everybody understands this is the situation, that there's clarity on the situation. And then the second question is, okay, now we understand the situation. What is our strategy? And the strategy is not, okay, let's do A, B, and C, because that is more actions. But the strategy could be things like, okay, I want to be able to, whenever possible, recover from an attack. That could be one. Or I want to be, when I'm attacked, able to recover and be stronger afterwards. Or other desired end state. But so an end state is often described in maybe just one sentence, and not a whole chapter or something. The real critical issue is if you are able to define your wished for, your desired end state, very concrete, then the better it is in checking later on in the game. Okay, I'm gonna play this. Does this indeed contribute to my end state? Yes or no? So the end state is more qualitative, let's say. And then you have your objectives. So, okay, let's say we want India to be more resilient. So that means that if we are attacked, our systems will still run, maybe at a little bit lower level, but at least we will be able to still run systems. And in order to do so, then you could say, okay, my objective is this or this or that. But that's still that's an objective that is underpinning your own desired end state. But you could also think about an objective as, okay, we see this hostile actor with this intent. So an objective could also be, let's try to prevent this actor to do this or that. So it helps you to indeed analyze what your not only end state is, but also your objectives given the various hostile actors that you might encounter. So it helps you to paint, let's say, the situation on one hand and your overarching ideas of, okay, how to counter this. So, and then maybe to the next sheet, Alexander, how does this play out in the game? In the game, we have a snapshot here of last year's game, where the question was again, who's the main actor? And then you can fill in the actors that you think are in play with regard to India and its cyber resilience. So what I think is the idea is that you might, if you're the first one, you can fill in a hostile actor. But if you think that someone else already filled in the actors that you also thought of, then you don't have to repeat it because it's there already. So by doing this, and you see this also on the right-hand side by votes, you can just click and say, okay, I agree on this one. And if you still think I miss an actor, you can fill it in, no problem. So this is how it in screenshot looks like, and I'm not sure, Alexander, whether you can also show it in practice.
Yeah, no, I can do that. Let me stop sharing this screen. Give me 1 second. And then I will share the live game, so to say. That is, give me 1 second. Need to find the right page.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah, super.
So you can.
Yeah, so you see it already. There's one cyber criminals. There's one hostile actor. But I could imagine that there are more there. So there's already one in playing the game a bit already. So what you'll see is that you'll encounter the questions that I just presented as well. So that means you can fill it in. And so the who and the why. And this is the way it works. So you can fill it in and then submit. At some point when you're ready, submit the answers. And so that the rest of you all can see it as well. If you play something, the rest can also see that. And I think that's important because it's a game that you do not play individually, but that can also be played together. You can respond to each other later on in the game, and I'll explain a bit later. Okay, I think this is how the bit works with regard to the situation and the strategy. Alex, you can maybe also click on that one in the tab. Yes, there. Again, design state and objectives. Yeah. So try to fill this in if you are able to. Okay, then maybe then quickly back to the PowerPoint, if you can, Alex.
No worries. Give me a couple of seconds. There
Yeah.
we go.
So
Can you
this
see
is the
it?
situation. Yeah. Next sheet. And the next one, because these we got objectives. Now you see automatically what's being filled in an earlier course. Okay, so let's say you filled in the situation and the strategy cards, as we call it. That means that we have an overview of what you think what the situation is about. And now we start thinking a bit more analytically. And for that, we designed what we would call an analytical framework. It's basically an Excel sheet in your mind. You can play it like an Excel sheet where the columns are strategic functions and the rows are functional areas. So let me explain. You see an example of a game where we say, okay, the system, and we talk India as the system, or the cyber security or cyber resilience system of India might have three main functions. So one function is prepare, and that's done by diplomats, by politicians, by engineers and others to prepare and be able to withstand whatever attacks on the system. Another one is, okay, we are being attacked. So how do we respond? And if we are being attacked, there might be a need for aftercare because something was damaged or whatever, or we learned that, hey, we should do stuff better. And that's basically a cycle. So at some point you say, oh, you're being attacked, you have some aftercare, but by the way, also we need to better prepare. So this is the way it works. And so this is purely the strategic functions. And then you go to the functional areas. And then we might have various functional areas: diplomatic, informational, military, or economic. And maybe for this, I think it's useful to go to the next sheet. But remember this double this cross with the picture in it, because we'll come back to that later. Next sheet, please, Alex. Yeah. So what we do for this game is we have formulated 4 strategic functions. Protection and prevention is one, threat reduction or mitigation, response, and deterrence. And we have strategic functions. So we have functional areas or sectors, and depends a bit how we play this. Diplomacy, military, counterintelligence, economic, law enforcement, and also interesting public-private partnerships, because it's not only the government that has capabilities, but it's also private sector and maybe NGOs and others having these. So basically the strategic functions in combination with the strategic sectors are the 2 axes of the analytical framework. And this is being reflected in the game itself, where later on we'll show you how this looks like. So I think next sheet can be shown. Yeah, so what you saw on this crossroad of these 2 arrows was basically the question, okay, I need to be prepared and I need to be, and the question is, what functional area capability do I have? So what we designed for this game is what we called capability cards. And a capability is always defined in a syntax as the ability to do something with an intended effect. So the example of C2, which is command and control, that's a typically military example. The ability to coordinate troops, to actively engage a hostile actor, that's one, in order, that's the effect, to refrain the actor from further hostile actions. So this is the description of, in this case, a C2 capability. And this is important because what you also see here, that it's not specifically stated what this capability is executed with. And that's an interesting one, because let me give you another example of a capability. So capability could be the ability to protect myself against a hostile actor in order to prevent that he will kill me. That's a capability. But the capacity to do that, so that's the difference. The capability and the capacity. The capacity to do this could be I'll use a stick, I'll use a gun, I'll use a bomb, I'll use a rocket, whatever. So the capability can be filled in with various capacities. And that means that if we start playing this game, you start playing this game, you play this on the level of capability. But you could imagine, thinking of it, that the capability could be filled in with various different capacities. And that's probably in a rich environment where you have a lot of different things very useful. You might, happening currently with Ukraine, you won't shoot down a very cheap drone with a very, very expensive rocket, if that's not necessary. And you have the capacity to do it with cheaper stuff. So this is a bit of these thinking behind it. Okay, next sheet, please. Yeah, so you have multiple capabilities, and here are a couple of examples. We've seen examples of, say, economic sanctions, or prosecute actors, or raise awareness, or promote cyber hygiene, for example. And during this lecture series of this course, you'll, not all, but a lot of the various topics, you'll get lectures anyway. But it's useful to start understanding each of these capabilities, because if you click on them, you'll see more explanation. And maybe, Alexander, you can indeed show it in the game itself. You're muted, by the way.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I've just stopped sharing my screen, and then I will go to the cards. Give me one moment. So I'll just share here, and then here we go.
Yeah. So here you see the various cards, and for example, Alexa, as you click on one, say the first one, number 1, for example, you see this card. And what you can also do then is you can choose whether you want to play this card. And this card then can be played on the analytical framework, as just being explained. So, and what you can do, you can play such a card on multiple cells. So it's not necessary just to pick one only, but if you think this would fit in 3 or 4 cells, on crossroad of a combination of a strategic function and a strategic section or a functional area, as we call it, then you can do so. That means that you can play all these cards 3, 4, 5 times if you want. There's no limit to that. So that's one. And the other thing, what's important, so you play it, and that's what we like you to do. Give a argument. So fill in a argument. Why do you play this card? Why is that so interesting? Because that forces you to think really about the capability and the reason you play a card on a certain crossroad. And that will force you actually to think a bit more. And what you might even do is, okay, I'll go to the web, because I might maybe not completely understand this capability, and start reading a bit more about it. And this will mean that you, by playing the game as such, do 2 things. You learn to apply it in a context, and you learn the terminology being used. I think that's useful. And the third one is that you can see, as soon as you have played a card, what your other players use as arguments to play a card. So if you don't have a clue But you see that some cards are being played at some place, and you say, "Hey, I'm interested. What are the arguments here?" Just go there and learn from your students, your fellow students, because they might have a very good argument. It could also be that you feel that the argument is not correct, so you might even respond to it. And I think that's the strong point of this game, that you can use the game not only to play for yourself, but also together with others, not against each other, but together with others, and learn while doing. And because it's not a win or lose game, it's a strategic analysis game. This is the strong point, I think, of this tool. Okay, so you fill in your argument, and then of course you have to publish, meaning that you upload it basically, and then it's visible for others. Okay, I think let's see I think the next sheet. Yeah, okay. If we can go to the sheets again, Alex.
No worries. I'll just change that over
And while
again.
doing so, it is not per se necessary to play all the cards. Yeah, but it's, if you think that a certain card is useful to play, just play it. But if you think, yeah, this has no function, then don't play it. Yeah? It's not a matter that you play all the cards, but I think I do encourage you to have a look at all the cards and see what others have as arguments why they played it, yes or no. I think that's where you can learn a lot. Okay, next sheets. Yes, so in the game you'll see there's a My Board and there's a Group Board. In the My Board tab, you can see the cards that you've played, and you see again the analytical framework. The numbers refer to the number of the cards played. On the right hand top side, you see a little cards clickable, and that that opens this right hand side banner where you can see the cards being played by yourself, or when you go to the group board, by the group. And if you hover over them, and we have a demo here, number 10. If you look at number 10, it's being played in 4 cells, as you can see. Yeah. Okay. So this is the way it works. So you can go to the group boards, to your own boards, and see what arrows have used as arguments, etc., etc. Next sheet. Because how do you see what the arguments are? And here is an example, a screenshot of last year, card number 6 being played. And you see that there are 205 comments on it. And you see that an argument is given. And this is the way it's done. And it could be that the argument is not specifically for that one cell only, but the card might be played in various places. And that means that people that play a card in other places have other arguments as well while playing it in another cell. Let's say it like that. Still talking about it as being an Excel sheet overview. So this is how the how this part is being played. So ideally, try to fill in arguments, not just clicking the card and go to the next, because you won't learn enough from it. The other thing is, and that's important, that at some point, and we'll do that somewhere next week, we'll come back to you, and then we do a first kind of review of where do we stand, what do we see, what do we understand about this. And I'll do a bit of reviewing at that point in time. I'll explain a bit, and we might do a little bit of Q&A if that's possible or necessary. But that is what we try to do between now and the next course. So start playing the situation and the strategy cards, so those questions, and start an initial round of playing cards with all the arguments. Okay, now maybe Alex, next sheet, please. Okay, so now we conclude at some point that we have played all the cards that we think are to be played. And we'll give the deadline at some point. We'll let you know. So, okay, you cannot play any more cards because we're going to do the next stage, next thing. And that is voting. And why voting? Well, basically, the idea of doing a vote is that that is about introducing scarcity, because you cannot have it all. If you would implement all the capabilities you think are necessary, you might be not able to, because you lack the money as country, or you lack the skills, or whatever other reason. It could also be political, that it's not able to do so because politics do not allow you, for example. So what we're going to do, well, at some point when we say, okay, now you played enough, thank you so much, we'll give you some votes, and we're probably going to give you 8 votes. 8 votes. And that means that we, as soon as we close the playing cards part and we go to the voting part, is that you are able to vote 8 times for a card, a capability card that you think is the most important to make or to upkeep India's cyber resilience. And at the same time, think again about your situation and strategy card. Think about, okay, what was my objective? What was my objective? And do I, when I choose a certain card, enhance or get closer to my objective and to my end state that I formulated in the strategy? I think that's important. So we do the voting, and that at some point will have a first result. So I would ask you, Alex, to show the next sheet. Yeah, so what you see here, also a screenshot of last year, that there were 122 votes on card number 3, implement protection measures. No? And you see multiple other cards. And because we were a lot of people, that means that a lot of votes, and that's the reason that we ask to do is kind of bean counting, so how many votes on a card, but also in percentage. So this is a first feeling for the group as a whole to say, okay, what do we think are the most important cards, that the capabilities that should be implemented or developed? And that's the first priority. If you want to spend money and or effort, this might help you. This way of thinking might help you. Okay, what should we do first? Okay, so we do that, and by the time that we have this voting, then we do reflect a bit on it together, and then the game is not ready. Still, there's another thing, and that's why I would like Alex to show the next sheets, please. This is a bit more complicated. Let me give you an example. So suppose that you want to have a kind of offensive cyber capability in order to mitigate or keep away or keep off your back criminals, cyber criminals. Then you could think about an attack capability. But the question, of course, is, okay, can I just start doing the attack, or should I also take care of my own defense first? Because if I attack, it might be that they retaliate, and if I'm not defended well, then I'm very vulnerable. So that means that we need probably to think about a combination of capabilities to make things happen. Also in light of looking at the situation, the strategy, the end objective as such. And what you see here is what we call a causality matrix. So you have your own personal causality matrix, and this is a group matrix. So that means that if you all have played this causality analysis, then the group causality shows what it is all about. And what you see here is, for example, say implement protection measures. That means, or for example, number 14, promote cyber hygiene. That means that you need to have number 3 in the columns, implement protection to raise awareness as an example. That's how it was placed last year. So this is how the causality is being shown. And you see it in light gray, that promote cyber hygiene number 14 is impacted by, that's the term there, by implement protection measures and raise awareness. So you could also think about this as a kind of value chain. If I would, and because that's what it is, if I need to invest in a certain group of capabilities, then I should invest in a combination. So it's not just random that we say, okay, let's put our money on 45, isolate threats from critical infrastructure, but you probably also need strengthen number 40, strengthen internal monitoring and or another capability. So that's basically a threat value chain, or the cyber defense value chain. So this is a kind of thinking, and then maybe as a last sheet, Alex, you can show the next one. Yeah, so we now filtered, and you can do that yourself at that point in time as well, that where we have, say, the negatives or the positives, depends on what you do, correlations, because it could be two-way street. So it could be that a certain capability that you want to implement is counterproductive, and that's red. And green is, okay, it is productive. But what you also see here is the number of people, the number of people, or I would say the number of cards played, or the causalities made by the various players. Yeah, so and as soon as the numbers are high, then the analysis of the group is, okay, here's a relatively high correlation, so there's a need to combine. So now suppose you're the chief information officer of a company, and you would do this kind of analysis in this way. So you think about, what is my situation as a company? What is my strategy as a company? And what do I think we should put in place as capabilities to be cyber secure, or at least cyber resilient? Then, okay, there might be this, you do your own voting, that could be within your company, with people that you work together with. But it's still the question is, okay, we only have so much money to spend and so much hours and time. So how should we prioritize? And then it might be very wise to also think about this causality. So what do we need in order to get to something? Which combination of capabilities are the most useful to spend money on? And this is, in the end, I think, the overall intent of this game. So thinking about the situation, India being cyber resilient, do we understand the situation? Do we have a strategy in place? Do we know what kind of capabilities are useful and which one can we afford? And do we, when we spend money on it and effort on it, do we have the wise combination of capabilities? And that's where I want to leave you for today. The game is now open, so hopefully everybody can play it. You can play it 5 times a day, 5 minutes, or much longer if you like. Try to fill in the arguments, because then you'll learn a lot, and also look at your fellow players, because they might have arguments that you didn't think of. I think that's very useful. And then for the next time, I think Alex, when is the next lecture scheduled? Is that somewhere next week, Thursday, or when is it? I don't know by heart.
I'm pretty sure Thursday. Yes, I can
Yeah,
quickly
okay.
double check, and I can give everyone the exact date and time. 1 second.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
okay, if that's Thursday, that's fantastic. That means that you between now and next Thursday you can play as many minutes or hours or days as you want. It's asynchronic, so you don't have to wait for the rest. But sure, take some time because you'll learn a lot, and you will see that some of the terminology that you'll encounter with during the game will come back in lectures as well. But also take the time to go to the internet and look up some of the terms that you might not be familiar with too much. Yeah, I think for this moment, I think it is what it should be. Alex, did I forget
No,
anything?
I think that was everything. I can just confirm that it is actually next Friday. So you
Oh,
all
Friday.
have just over a week. Next Friday, same time. So again, from I think it is 6 to 7 p.m. In Indian Standard Time. So you all have just over a week, and if you cannot access the game or anything, it is in the study guide. The study guide is on the IDCSS25 website. So if you've not been able to, for whatever reason, access it, you do not worry, you still can. It is on the website, so and the study guide has all of the information. And I think that's everything. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty
Okay.
comprehensive. Well,
And looking forward to see some results next week Friday, and we'll reflect a bit on it. And next Friday we'll also do a bit of the voting, probably, but we'll come back to that later. Let's first see what you played.
yeah, amazing. We're very much looking forward to see all of the exciting strategies and solutions that you come up with, as well as the cards that you play. That's the
Yeah.
two bits. So,
Okay.
is there anything else from your side, Michel?
No, I think
No?
I've talked enough. Let's start playing.
Amazing. That exactly. One thing I will just mention just before we end the session is don't forget to fill in for the challenges, the survey, which is very important. I just want to keep reminding people because otherwise, if you do not fill it in, you will not be able to play the challenges. So you have a little bit of homework for the next couple of days, but I'm sure it's very manageable. On that, thank you all very much for coming once again. It's been a pleasure, and you have 2 more lectures tomorrow. So we're really looking forward to seeing you there. Have a great night, everyone.
Okay. Enjoy the game. Bye.
Bye-bye.